What has changed in the past 3 years? We did a podcast 3 years ago. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. But what has changed? What kind of growth has your company seen in the past 3 years?
That's a great question. We've been developing our commercial installation side of the business. Before we were heavy residential. We do both maintenance for commercial and residential, and in that maintenance, there's sometimes a need to add a patio or extend a patio, or a homeowner buys a home and they want to remove some rock and add turf for their kids or for their dogs, or the other way around. They don't want as much turf, so they want to condense that and either go xeriscape, which is just a rock cactus landscape, or put artificial in. And so the maintenance tends to feed a lot of the installation. And we through BNI, we were doing some maintenance at a medical plaza, and they were redoing the whole building. And then they eventually, once they were done the inside, they came to the outside. And so the natural ask to us was, do you guys do this sort of work? And we said, absolutely, we do. So we did a great outdoor renovation for them, fixed up the main entryway where their guests come to visit. And through that, there was a builder that was spearheading the whole project, and they really liked the communication, the work itself. So then they do a lot of work with the Archdiocese of the Catholic Church. So they asked us to start bidding on some of the Catholic Church work. And St. Mary's all-girls school was our first big commercial project. We've done like little Starbucks here, or like the Urbe Medical, which was, a few $1,000s, but this one started out at close to $100,000, and
Wow.
It almost doubled by time we were done with it. So the commercial side of our business has really seen some exponential growth through some relationships that we've made through the years. That's
crazy. Because I think for someone that's like, starting out, or just getting into business, hearing those numbers is, that's not something you get on day one.
No.
And what, like when you first got that offer, or like that bid, was that something that you already felt capable of, or was that already you felt like you kind of reaching one step out of your comfort zone?
Yes to both. I've done projects for residential where it was 2,000 or 3,000 square feet of pavers. So I've had that experience. We've done work for residential customers where we've added 30, 40 plants, a new drip system, a handful of trees. So we've had that experience. We've done some smaller commercial work where we've added a larger tree. So in general, we've done the work, but it was never under one umbrella where it was all done at the same time, where we had to scale the job ourselves and to put everything together all at once. So it was in my comfort zone, in our wheelhouse, but also we were reaching a little bit, because not only do you have to figure out all that part of it, but you have to figure out the financing piece of it. Spending $17,000 on trees all at one time, that's a huge expense. And that was just the trees alone. That didn't include the $6,000 or $7,000 in the plants, and then the pavers themselves, doing 3,500 square feet of pavers at $2.50 a square foot. That's a huge expense. That was the biggest learning lesson for us, is how do we financially manage a project of that nature. And it was a good learning lesson, because this was a really good, KGM is the name of the builder, and they were really kind and generous, and they knew that it was a newer side of the business for us. So they were able to come alongside us and help us as we were collecting checks, and when we hit this milestone, collecting another check. When we hit this milestone, collecting another check. So not all builders, not all commercial projects will do that. You typically get anywhere from 25 to 50% down, and then you get maybe another 25%, and then you get your final minus the 10% holdback that you get. So they were incredibly kind and generous throughout the whole process.
When you 3 years ago, like looking back from 3 years ago to now, was this sort of within your vision of possibilities, or do you feel like you kind of surpassed things?
3 years ago, I was struggling with a lot of personal stuff, so I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think that me being able to manage a job of that size would have been in the wheelhouse. I was just hoping for another residential maintenance account or a smaller commercial account. And once I got my personal issues under control and started to manage those a lot better, things started falling back into place for us. And then once I knew my capabilities from 10 years ago as I grew the business. I knew that we had the guys that are more than capable to run these kind of jobs. It was just more of rebuilding and reconnecting with some relationships. And once those fell into place, I knew that it could happen. I never dreamed that it would be a project, close to 200,000 in revenue, but I knew that the possibility is there.
Can you, if you don't mind, because like whoever is watching this, if I want them to understand a little bit of the scale of how you guys are operating and how big the landscaping business is. Because some people, I feel like, before me going into like meeting you or meeting other people, like I would look at other industries and have no idea how big it is, what kind of money is moving. Like, I never thought landscape was moving this much money. So if you could share a little bit about like how many residential places you guys are servicing, how many maintenance stuff, like what kind of projects you guys are doing, just to give the people a little bit of the feeling.
Yeah, you bet. So we run 4 maintenance crews. Each maintenance crew has three guys on it. We have a full-time irrigation tech. I have a construction crew of 4 guys. So altogether, five trucks on the road, 6 including the irrigation tech, and then there's Juan and Ryan. Ryan manages the commercial or the construction side of things, both residential and commercial, and Juan manages the maintenance side of things, both residential and commercial. A lot of our projects, our residential homes, we've got about 150 of those, and then they range anywhere from $50 a visit to $350 a visit. So depending on the size of the home, what their needs are is what their fees are. And then we get into the commercial side of things. We work with ASU, we work with the Marriott, the Hilton Hotel Group. We work with Best Western, a lot of charter schools here in the Valley. Sun Valley Charter, they've got 2 locations. ASU has several locations. They're feeder schools to the college. We do Basis Ed. There's probably 15 schools here in the Valley, and we do 12 of them. So there are a lot of schools. That's kind of our focus. We're able to get in early, get out of the way, so that the magic can happen at those schools. We do Starbucks. Black Rifle Coffee is coming to the Valley. So once those get rocking and rolling, they took some executives from Starbucks to help spearhead their facilities, and we've got relationships with them. So we're just waiting for those facilities to be built so we can go back there. Service Wire, they're one of the major wire companies in the United States. They have 2 locations here in the Valley. A distribution center and a manufacturing plant. We manage both of those. Conair, the hairdryer company out by the Glendale Airport, they've got 2 facilities out there that we manage. And so those are some of the bigger projects that we do.
That's impressive because like you said, you just said this all with the complete straight face, and some people would be drooling to be work with one of the companies that you guys work with in any industry, right? Even let's say like even video production or photo, anyone to say, oh yeah, I've done the new line for Starbucks. If you go inside their shop and you look at their menu, like those photos are mine. Like people will drool over that. What would you say is maybe some of the key factors for success, or I don't know, what are you guys doing to be able to service more professional retailers or companies like that? Like what are you doing?
I think it's 3 or 4 things that really go into play. I think a relationship is the biggest key to it all. You have to have a relationship. You have to be open. You have to be honest. And that falls before anything else. When you make a mistake, you have to own it and you have to react to it. You can't be passive. You have to be aggressive. And I wish I could sit here and say we've never made a mistake. Just yesterday, the crew was supposed to be at a residential house. The homeowner's texting me all day long, where are the guys at? Where are the guys at? I get to the office, the crew's already there. Well, something clearly happened. Well, they made a mistake and they serviced the address. The address was 1432, but they serviced 1452. So I had to eat some crow. I had to call the customer and say, well, we made a mistake today, and our crew blessed your neighbor and cleaned up your neighbor's yard. And that's happened on the commercial side of things. We made a mistake. We didn't catch a valve in time, and it's just being open and honest that, hey, we made a mistake. This is how we're going to make it right, and just owning that relationship piece of it, and always being available is important, because in any industry, a property manager, a homeowner, they start making phone calls and they just move on the line until they get to the next one. And even if it's your property, if it's a weekend and there's an emergency, they want to know that they can get a hold of you. And if they don't get a hold of you, they're going to move on to the next landscaper. And then that relationship building starts happening with that next landscaper. So making sure that you're open and honest, available, and then being consistent, showing up when you say you're going to show up, building a schedule for both the residential and the commercial. They want to know that on Thursday that you're going to be there. On Mondays, their shopping plaza is going to be clean, going to be crisp, going to be ready for business. So making sure that you manage all of that, and when you do fail, you own it. And when you do succeed, you own it as well, and celebrate the successes and learn from the mistakes.
Where do you guys, I mean, at this point, I know you guys cover a wide range, but where do you guys get these new businesses from?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We've partnered with BNI. We joined a chapter in BNI, and that's really helped. A lot of my older clients that we've had for a while, it's 100% through relationships. There was another landscape company that we were affiliated with, that there was one of the general managers that worked there. I got to be really close with him. We'd go out on the lake on the weekends, and then when he moved on from that landscape company, he had some friends 2-3 years later that were reaching out to him saying, hey, who do I call? And so Pete put us in contact with, that's how we got the Starbucks. One of his buddies went to go work for Consolidated Management, and they were a concierge, and they handled all facets of the business. So when Darren was with Consolidated, they gave us a call, and we started with just 2 Starbucks. And we met Vern Husky along the way. He's one of the major property managers for Starbucks. And then as the new builds come that our landlord owned, he gives our name and number out to the various landlords. And now we've got 30 plus Starbucks.
I want to know how you do the internal, how do you manage the relationship? How do you manage the relations with your employees, and how do you manage them to make sure that they're all organized and they got what they need to go do their jobs? Is there, from a management standpoint, because there's, I think there's also people out there that is getting into that management positions, or, struggling to figure out what kind of systems they can implement. How have you figured out, or what has worked best for you to manage your employees and make sure that they got what they need?
It's a great question. I think you have to know your employees. You have to learn what motivates them, what gets them up in the morning, and what sustains them throughout the day. For everybody, it's different. For me, it's a kind word. It's somebody telling me I did a good job. That really pumps me up and makes me go even harder. For some guys, it's monetary. They want an incentive. Their worth is tied to their pay, as far as their happiness as well. So sometimes we'll throw out a $25 a week bonus. If the guys, they do a cleanup, they knock it out of the park, we get a raving review from the customers. I'll go to the bank, I'll grab some 20s, and when the guys get back, give them a couple of 20s. And you have to share the bad with the good. There's times where I do have to pull the guys in, and we have to have a tough conversation and practice that tough love, where it's, you guys missed the mark today. I'm not mad at you. It really goes back to kind of parenting your kids a little bit, where you're not to say that your employees are children, but you have to learn to motivate in a positive fashion throughout the day, whether it's they made a mistake or whether they knocked it out of the park. There has to be some positivity to it. So really learning and knowing your employees and what motivates them. We work a lot of hours, the management team does, to make sure that the guys have everything. I think one of the things that I said early on was, I'm expecting these guys to go to battle, so they need to have the tools to battle. And it gets frustrating from the execution standpoint if they go to take down a tree and their chainsaw's broke. If if they go to dig a trench and their shovel isn't in the truck. If they're going to a cleanup and they need a ladder and the ladder's broke, that's on me. And I have to own those mistakes when that equipment has failed or I've failed to get them the right equipment. So we put a huge emphasis on making sure the guys have new, clean, working equipment so they can do the best they can do. I can't expect them to give me A plus product with C plus machines. So that there's some employees that are motivated by that. They want to know that when they jump on this riding mower, it's going to start up. And so we spend a lot of time and effort, and we bring a mechanic in every Monday, and he goes through all the equipment every single Monday, sharpens the tools, cleans the carburetors out. And so we've invested money into a mechanic to make sure our equipment is ready to rock and roll. And then whenever it does fail, like right now we're doing a lot of trees, so it's the constant sharpening of the blades on the chainsaws and the overhaul on the equipment. So we take it over to Raul's house, and Raul will dial that in for us during the week. And so we put a heavy emphasis on just employee relations and making sure that they're happy, because we can't do what we do if they're not satisfied or they're not happy.
Yeah. Did you say who's the person that comes out and sharpens the
Raul.
tools? Raul. Is that like a company?
No, it's just he used to work for me.
Yeah.
And then he went off and started his own thing.
I see.
And so he's doing residential houses, and we blessed him and was so happy for him. And I just asked him because he would fix things. He would tinker here, tinker there.
He just knows the touch.
He's been doing it probably 35 years. And so I just asked him. I said, "Hey, would you mind coming?" And so him and his son come every Monday. Without fail, they're there at 2:30 in the afternoon, and they work till about 5, and they get all of our equipment ready to go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a great relationship. I know we talked about tools. I want to get into a little bit about, I know you have with Dan a little bit too, that hasn't been on the podcast yet, but
come on, Dan. What are you doing?
How has, I know you sharpened up your branding a little bit. If you could touch a little bit about the brand of Cornerstone Landscape.
Yeah, so the brand for me is incredibly important. Clean, crisp, and concise. That's the message we're trying to drive home. All of our trucks are white. All of our logos are green, terry green to be exact. And I know the name of the color because it has to be precise. We don't accept. There's been times where other promotional products, people have tried to deliver shirts that wasn't that terry green. And unfortunately, that just doesn't jive with our message. From our hats to our shirts to our trucks, everything is clean, everything is crisp, everything matches. And that's the message we're trying to drive home when we do our residential and our commercial maintenance. That whether you're at Starbucks in Apache Junction or you're the Starbucks at Goodyear, they're going to look identical. They're both going to be clean. They're both going to be weed free. The trees are going to be canopied or thinned out. That everything is the one concise message that Cornerstone is here for all of your needs. And it starts with your brand. It starts with your logo. When you see trucks driving down the road, when a truck drives down the road, you've got maybe 5 seconds to grab as much information as possible. And you see trucks that are wrapped, and all those look beautiful. They look great. I'm not taking away from that. But for me, I want the average person to just look over, catch one piece of information, whether it's our website, whether it's a phone number, or even just the logo. I want them to remember something. And so we keep it really simple: the logo, the name, phone number, and then the few services that we provide.
I definitely, I think it's subconscious to people when you have cohesive look and branding. Because when you're walking out daily, it's not something you consciously think about unless you're in a position of doing branding or something. But you look at other, take any company, maybe it doesn't have to be landscaping, but you see in the residential neighborhood, you see all sorts of companies, trucks, vehicles parked. And, and it makes a difference subconsciously, I think, from the people in the neighborhood of, are they all wearing the same thing? Are they matching? Do you know exactly what these guys are servicing? Are these guys here to plumbing? Are they here to service landscaping? Or is it just a creepy white truck that just parked there and people are coming in and out? So I think, because, once the time comes and someone needs a landscaper, I think that's when the branding can really make a difference of having a cohesive professional look. And honestly, I think also from the person that's hiring you guys, right? If you're having a service and the people come in, you want a professional look. So I think that definitely makes a difference in overall long-term branding and, just kind of positioning your company.
Yeah, Anthony, a friend of ours, he told me a story that he was sitting in his house getting ready to leave, and he saw across the street, happened to be doing one of his neighbors' landscape, and our truck was parked, and then a regular Joe landscape company pulled up and parked. So our trucks were parked nose to nose, and he just sat there for a second. He thought there was going to be a rumble off. No, he didn't really, but he just stood there for a second, and he was observing the two different landscape companies, and one was logoed. The truck was clean. The guys were in matching shirts, blue jeans, work boots, and the other guys getting out, which I'm sure they were perfectly fine gentlemen and did great work, but they just were all mismatchy, different color shirts, different color pants. Some were in regular tennis shoes. They all had different hats on, and it just did not give the message that we're here as one to do your landscape.
I want to shift in a little bit to, I guess, personal growth. What's the biggest thing that changed in the past 3 years?
My sobriety, by far. So I'm an alcoholic. I've been struggling with alcohol since probably about 16 years old. I'm 41, and I've tried to get sober on 3 different occasions. And I refuse to admit that I had a problem because I could manage it. I wasn't the alcoholic that needed a drink every single day. I wasn't the alcoholic that had the shakes, that woke up in the middle of the night, woke up in the morning. That wasn't me. I was more of the binge drinker that if I started, I couldn't stop. And so I was able to manage it during the week, and on the weekends from about 3:00 on a Friday to about 9:00 on a Sunday, I was intoxicated the whole entire time. And then I went through a divorce, and I didn't have my family full time. So my girls were with their mom. So then I started consuming more alcohol and more and more and more. And then it did get out of control where I was drinking probably 3 or 4 days a week. When I didn't have them, I was drunk by noon. And so I struggled with that for a while. Just the other day, I celebrated my 18th month of sobriety. And so getting sober and staying sober has been the biggest change of it all. Being able to wake up early in the morning, be able to operate with clear mind, being able to take phone calls in the afternoon, being able to make tough decisions and have tough conversations. Those are all things that I've grown to learn how to do again. And it's really helped the business. It's not only helped from the financial side of the thing, it's helped from the growth of the business. It's helped from the relationships with my employees. They can count on me again. They know that when I say I'm going to be at the office in the morning, I'm going to be at the office in the morning, and I'm not going to reek of alcohol. So overall, my sobriety has been the biggest personal improvement I've had.
That's amazing, Chris. That's really thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's I really do think there's going to be people that someone's going to hear this and really, really feel like someone might be struggling because, some of these stuff, like, you just don't know from the outside of what people are going through. And it's something that I do think about a lot is you just really don't know what other people are going through. And I feel like you sharing that means a lot to people that might be struggling with other reasons. They might be struggling their own fights, but I think it takes courage to change behavior and admit that you had to change something, and that's impressive that you've done it for 18 months. And I'm here for you for the future too. If
Thanks,
anything.
buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Any other growth? That's a tremendous one. But if you have anything other than you saw,
just through with personal stuff, like I just paid off my trailer. That's a huge accomplishment. Personal. I have a 27-foot travel trailer that I'm able to take the kids out and the family out, and we go and we hang out up north when it's crazy hot here in Phoenix. We're actually going not next week, but the week after. So that was really good. Got engaged last October.
Amazing. Congratulations. Yep.
Yeah, it's scary, but it's amazing. And we moved in together a little over a year ago. All these things coincide with being sober. Can't do anything if I'm not that. I think just in general, just a clearer mind and being able to build relationships in a healthy way. I think that's the biggest personal growth that I've had.
I've asked some other people a similar question, but I just want to hear what your take is on. And the overarching theme of having strong family. I know this is going to be so obvious that it's so positive, that it's impactful. But what does it mean to you? Like, how has it helped you to have a strong family and spending more time with family? Like, how has that changed you, or how did that impact you?
It impacted me really with my day to day, because being a business owner is tough. It's isolating. It's alone a lot of times, alone in your own thoughts, alone in your own thinking, your thought processes. Not a lot of people understand what a business owner goes through and the struggles that we have. And it's a lot of sometimes gambling. Do I take this project? Do I go on this project? Do I fire this employee? Do I sever ties with this customer? When's the next big job coming? There's all these thoughts that constantly go through your head as a business owner. And there's always that the shoe to drop could really be the end of everything. And if you don't have a strong family support, you are 100% alone. And so for me, it's really helped me go to battle every single day. It's what gets me up at 5:00 in the morning, sometimes 4:30 in the morning, and brushing my teeth. As I leave the bedroom, I can see my fiance sleeping, and I check on the kids before I leave. And I do it as a reminder that this is why I'm leaving this early in the morning. Nobody's awake, and that's the way that I want it to be. And then you go out and you encounter customers that aren't so friendly, and you have to remind yourself why we just can't explode and tell them what we think, or tell them why they're wrong and we're right. That there's 5 mouths to feed when I go home, and 6 including myself. So it really has helped me stay humble, stay grounded, stay personable. And when you have those great moments, it's really fun to celebrate with them. Like, we're going to go to San Diego here in a few months, and we're going to have a big celebration. My daughter's turning 16. She doesn't know this yet. Hopefully she doesn't watch this podcast. But we're going to go to San Diego and celebrate her 16th birthday. That's going to be great. It wouldn't be possible. What would I do if I didn't have family? I'd probably just be working. And so it helps celebrate the wins, and it helps encourage in the losses.
I love that answer. I'm just trying to collect all these information and people's thoughts and perspectives about, what seems to be obviously very important in life. So I want to go super narrow and super niche into, has the landscaping business as an industry, has it changed much, or is it pretty much the same thing for the past, I don't know, forever?
I've been doing this since 2005 commercially. I've been really cutting grass since I was 10 years old, and I could push a mower in Colorado. The industry as a whole really hasn't had many revelations. It is still, not to dumb it down and not to take away from the people that have spent their life's work with landscaping, but it is still just cutting grass, trimming bushes. There's some definite science behind why we cut when we cut, what we trim when we trim. There's some science behind it. And the science has evolved. And I think the education piece has really helped. There's been some technology breakthroughs as far as like water management. Like, I can control timers from my phone, where before we couldn't. And I think that's evolved. They've come up with flood irrigation used to be a really big thing back in the day, and this still is a part of the valley in certain parts. where they just literally, it's exactly what it sounds like. They just turn on the water, they flood it all out.
Yeah. I see that at like public parks.
Yes,
Yeah.
public parks, Central Phoenix a lot. They flood it all out, and then it sits for 3 or 4 days, and then next month they flood it out again, and it's a huge waste of water. So throughout the years they've come up and they developed drip irrigation system, sprinkler systems, and even in the sprinklers they've gotten down from big gear-driven heads that throw up a huge plume of smoke or mist, and the water just evaporates to tighter, smaller streams. So it's low flow, low waste type of sprinkler heads. So the technology has changed, but in general, we're still just kind of cutting grass and trimming bushes. But there's some science behind it.
Cool. Where do you see your company going towards, the direction? Where do you want to see it go in the next couple of years?
I'd like to see some steady growth. We would like to get more into the commercial installation of things. The valley is just cranking right now. It seems like every corner you go on, there's a Starbucks, there's a coffee shop of some sort, Black Rock, Dutch Mafia, Starbucks, they're everywhere. We'd like to get it more into the installation of some commercial properties. That'd be fantastic. But I really do see a lot of my niche is residential maintenance. I do love the idea of giving back homeowners their weekends. If we didn't do your landscape, what would you be doing on the weekend? You'd be cutting grass.
See, I would be staring at an ugly lawn. Yeah,
That's fair. The normal person,
of course,
spends their weekend cutting grass and trimming bushes and pulling weeds. And so we do take pride in giving back. I sometimes call it this piece of paradise in hell. Life is tough. Life is hard. And so if we can give homeowners back a little piece of their paradise in their backyard so they can spend their weekends, the husbands out there, the dads out there throwing the ball with their kids, moms watching their kids swimming, things like that's my passion, is really giving back those weekends.
I think that was the first time I heard you word it that way, where it's your backyard is the paradise in hell. Because it does actually do feel like, because the world is so busy and chaotic, and your thoughts are running through 100 miles an hour. And there's something, at least for me, there's something about after I finish my work a day, or what, even sometimes it's in between, just taking a break, I'll go outside and I'll sit in the hammock, and there's something so peaceful about your backyard that is secluded, and something that's a little bit, like you said, a little bit of paradise you get of like relaxation. Yeah. So I like how you worded it, because I felt that way, but I never like put words to it. So
yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
It's important that we take that 5-10 minutes. Now that you got a dog, you can go out there and
run around with the dog.
Go jump in the pool with him.
Actually, the other day I went outside. I was running around. I was in the pool and got out, and I was going to chase my dog, and then I slipped on the tile and I smacked my knee. So that was that was painful.
Are you 12 years old again?
No, that literally I can't, because I just don't do stupid things anymore where I actually injure myself. I'm not in that business anymore. When I was 14, 15, that happens every other day. You come back with a bruise, itch, scratch, something. But yeah, I was like, I don't need this anymore. But Chris, is there anything that you want to share? Any thoughts? Anything that's on your mind?
It's a great question. I think just in general, I think one of the things that I've really been working on with my personal life and my business life is just learning to be more open and share. And don't be afraid if you're struggling with business. Don't be afraid to reach out to another business owner and have a conversation. I was talking to another business owner the other day, and she's contemplating on taking on a partner. And she asked me my thoughts, and I have some very strong opinions on partnership, as I was a partnership with another company and it dissolved. So I feel I was able to mentor her a little bit and give her some advice on what to do in the event the business fails, or how to prepare, set yourself up. And if she wouldn't have been vulnerable to say, hey, I'm considering this, what are your thoughts? That would never have happened. And likewise, if I wouldn't have shared my experience of my failures, then this would not possibly prevent her from making that same tragic mistake. So don't be afraid to find people in your same industry, even find another landscaper and say, hey man, I'm struggling to get new work. What are you doing that works? In any city in America, there's so much work out there that we as business owners shouldn't be cutting each other's throats to find business or get business. We should be helping each other. We should be building each other up, strengthening each other, sharpening that iron. Don't be afraid to reach out, and don't be afraid to be honest. There's too much out there. There's too much at stake. We only get this life one time. So let's build a relationship with other like industry members and figure out what they're doing and take what you need to take from it, leave what you need to leave on the table, but just build relationships. And when that person reaches out to you, don't be afraid to have that conversation. Don't be afraid to fill their cup and to help them, because somebody did it to you along the way. Because you look at even Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs didn't wake up. He wasn't born and then was the CEO of Apple. He had some mentorship along the way, and some people filled his cup, and then in turn he filled other people's cups. So don't be afraid to take what you need to take and give what needs to be given.
I like that so much, Chris. That was great.
Awesome.
That's the end of the podcast.
Woohoo!
Thanks for being on the podcast, Chris.
Thanks for having me.